Welcome back to the Resilient Kitchen video series. This video is focused on food and cooking and is part of a series of short videos developed to help people prepare their kitchens for events that may impact resources such as safe water, electricity, cell service, and even road access. This series was inspired by my own experience living in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene in western North Carolina in 2024. So this whole Resilient Kitchen video series is based on a two-part strategy. First, gather some simple critical supplies far ahead of time in a Resilient Kitchen kit so they're in your home and ready. And then, secondly, I'll suggest some final preparations that are helpful in the days before a storm if you have advance notice. We're also focused on having about a week's worth of supplies because history has shown that there are relief efforts in place about 1 week after a natural disaster. Preparing for the food you'll need after a storm can be tricky. Sometimes there isn't sufficient notice to give you time to buy what you need. Also, prior to a storm, the shelf-stable options in your community may be limited. So you probably want a repository so you're not caught off guard. There are resources online, such as the CDC website and ready.gov, that discuss emergency food preparation strategies. I'll provide those links in the video description and in the summary document. I'm just going to share some ideas, but obviously adapt them to your unique situation. If you have advanced notice, the first place to look for food for that first week after the storm is actually in your refrigerator and freezer. The next video in this Resilient Kitchen series will be focused on maximizing the resiliency of refrigerators and freezers to keep cold food safe as long as possible. And this includes being really intentional about what to keep in your refrigerator and freezer and what to move maybe to an ice chest to eat in the days immediately after the storm. We'll cover all that in the next video, so for this video, I'm just focused on shelf-stable options. Now, here in the Spice Lab in the Physics and Astronomy Department at Appalachian State University, we're focused on sustainable whole food options. And so I don't typically recommend highly processed foods. However, preparing for an emergency like this is an extenuating circumstance. It's exactly the application that processed food was made for. So think about items that need no preparation. While typical preppers recommend large canisters of dry beans and rice, in this series, again, we're only planning for about a week of disrupted resources such as electricity and water. So my recommendations are a little bit different. Think of canned items rather than dry, and be sure to stash a manual can opener in your prep kit to open those cans without electricity. Think of ready-made meals like canned soups and stews that don't even need the addition of water. Are these delicious? They are not. But if you're spending your post-storm days doing repairs, tree cleanup, helping your neighbors, you will appreciate these no prep options. Open and eat, it might seem like quite a gift. For fruits and vegetables, if you have time to shop in advance, think of produce items that last a while without refrigeration, such as carrots, maybe peppers, apples, bananas. Canned vegetables and fruits are also great choices. For protein, canned fish and beans are great options. Also nuts and nut butters, beef and turkey jerkies. This is a true story. The first time I was able to make it to a grocery store after Hurricane Helene, I found shelf-stable cooked bacon. I don't even eat much bacon, but in that moment, when we had just driven through the most post-apocalyptic landscape I'd ever seen, this no prep bacon looked like gold, and it tasted amazing, and it made me very happy. There's a lot of options. For starches, think about bread with preservatives so it'll last without refrigeration, crackers and cereals rather than rice and pasta that will require a lot of your safe cooking water and fuel. Potatoes are a good starch option that don't require refrigeration and can be diced and cooked over your camp stove without water. Also, old-fashioned oats are a gem of a starch that are shelf-stable for a long time and don't actually need cooking since they're steamed and flattened before they're packaged. Overnight oats can be a great choice. Be sure to use your fully treated drinking water to soak the oats and then add yummy additions like brown sugar, nuts, and maybe some dried fruit. And don't forget to pack some cookies, granola bars, protein bars, and things like that. Beverages such as shelf-stable milk or juices are good to have on hand. I also prioritize coffee, so instant if you can deal with that, or make sure you have pre-ground beans or a non-electric hand grinder so you'll be able to make pour-over coffee with boiled water from your camp stove and your water pre-filter cone we discussed in the drinking water video. I really like coffee, and it was especially important during those first post-storm mornings. and afternoons. Now turning to cooking. First, if your cooking requires water, like for rice and pasta, please refer to the drinking water video in this Resilient Kitchen series when considering how to treat water before cooking with it. If you're using the water you captured before the storm, you're set. But if you don't have enough, it's best to save that for drinking, since all of your drinking water goes into your body, where only part of your cooking water gets absorbed by the food and gets consumed. Your drinking water requires the highest level of quality. If you find that your only cooking water option is to use compromised city or well water or wild water captured from a river, for example, after a storm, or while camping, and you're going to be boiling it anyway, you don't have to worry about that middle stage I talked about in the drinking water video about killing pathogens. But a pre-filter to remove particles and a granulated activated carbon filter to remove some chemicals is probably a good idea before boiling. A camp stove or a barbecue side burner is a huge help for cooking if you don't have power. I'd recommend stoves that have adapters for a variety of fuels such as propane, butane, and isobutane. Camp fuel canisters are one of the first items that your local stores will run out of as a storm is approaching. And so expanding your options for fuels that'll work for your stove will maximize the chance you'll find the fuel you need. Also, it's a great idea just to keep some fuel on hand at home for surprise power outages. I would not recommend storing fuel canisters in your hurricane prep kit. The recommendation is that they're always stored upright and outdoors in a well-ventilated area if possible. And don't forget to pack some matches in your hurricane prep kit. Another great hack, if you own a barbecue grill with a large propane canister but without its little side burner, is to add one of these converter kits to your prep box. So you can tap into the large propane canister and then plug it into your camp stove. These adapters are great and work for stoves that have their own support structure with a hose that can be connected, but they don't work great if you're using a stove that depends on the canister itself for its support. Think about ways to make these stoves that rely on fuel canisters as the base more stable. Adding a heavy pot to this is a bit precarious and dangerous. While many come with stabilizing bases, they still are a bit tipsy, and some of the bases don't work with certain fuel containers. One trick I found is to get a cooking pot, put the stove in it, and then surround the canister with gravel or sand or even canned goods or dry beans, anything non-flammable that you have available. Now this is a much more stable and safe camp stove. And remember to only use camp stoves outdoors in a well-ventilated area away from any open windows. While it's tempting to cook on a gas stove inside your home during a power outage, it is not recommended that you do so because without electricity, you're unable to run your exhaust hood, and without a ventilation system, the products of combustion from the flame will enter your home, and that is a known health risk. If you want to take your camp stove to the next level, I'm a big fan of these BioLite wood burning stoves because they just take sticks and small pieces of wood, which can be a reliable fuel source even if you're caught off guard. They have an internal fan which makes the fire burn very efficient and hot, and there's a grill attachment and a French press coffee attachment. And get this, they use a thermoelectric generator which takes waste heat from the fire to charge an internal battery. Then you can use this USB port to charge small electronic devices during a power outage. That is some very cool physics. And solar ovens like this inexpensive evacuated tube from GoSun work impressively well for water boiling and for food heating and cooking. The sun is the only fuel you'll need. There's a wide range of solar oven options. You can learn more about the options from a video I recorded previously, and stay tuned to this channel for more details about how to use them most effectively. Lastly, if you have an electric generator and are able to run it from time to time during a power outage to keep your refrigerator and freezer cold, take advantage of those extra outlets to do some cooking while it's running. Think about pressure cookers, water boilers, air fryers, anything with a standard plug. You will need to determine the maximum output of your electric generator and the power needs of your appliances so you can determine which of these you can run at the same time without tripping the breaker on your generator. Power meters can be really helpful to help you figure that out in the days after the storm. Pressure cookers are especially good for this application because they're insulated and they take the water to a really high temperature, so they cook passively for a long period of time even after they're unplugged. Okay, hopefully this gives you some ideas about food options for a resilient kitchen. I'm sure I've missed a bunch, so please add any ideas you have to the comments so we can all learn from each other. Also, head to the website listed below and this QR code for the list of videos in the series and PDFs with shopping lists and to-do checklists. On to the next video that talks about maximizing the resiliency of your refrigerator and freezer. Thanks for following along.